like to go over some pre-course work before you come to a Sagittari practice, or if you signed up for a horse archery clinic and you want to kind of familiarize your horse with a bow or the arrows. Okay, so for familiarization I like to use a stick about 40 inches long, maybe 3 feet, about 3 feet to 40 inches long. With that stick you kind of want to wave it around your horse to make sure he's okay with it. As you can see, my horse is pretty okay with it. Usually if you want to, start far away. Get your horse used to you waving a stick, because when you're waving a whip around a horse, a lot of times they get a little antsy. But so for starters, wave it around them far away. Act like you're throwing it on like a saddle, because they're already used to that motion. Once they get used to that, you can bring it in, you can pet them with it, you can move it around their head, you can go a little bit faster. But go as slow as you need to at first. Then after you do this, I want you to start dropping that stick. Do it far away, do it at knee height, drop it. Do it at waist height, drop it. Do it at shoulder height, drop it. Do it as high as you can, drop it. Hopefully your horse shouldn't move. You want to get your horse used to these things, because when people come up to you, they may drop gear, they may hand it to you a little too fast. You don't want your horse moving, okay? You don't want your horse moving and shying away from all the equipment. So you need to work on this on the ground until your horse absolutely does not care. All right? That's the stick. Simulates your bow, and then on horseback you can do the same thing. You can do some drills, touching them on the butt, whatever, to kind of get them used to you holding that bow in your hand while you're riding. All right? Like I said, you can practice this before you get to your clinic, before you get to a Sagittari practice. That way your horse is familiar with something in your hand other than a whip. All right, next we're going to discuss groundwork with the whip. Hold the whip in your bow hand, grab the tip, and flick it like that twang of the bow. Do it around your horse until your horse doesn't care. You may have to do it far away from the horse at first, but as you get your horse familiar with it, you can do it wherever you want. Your horse will not care. That way, when you start shooting your bow on horseback, he's a little bit more familiar with that twanging sound, okay? Okay, on horseback, same thing. When you're using the stick, move it around your horse, around his head. Make sure your horse does not care at all. You can do this at the walk, you can do this at the trot, canter. Make sure your horse doesn't care. Touch him in the butt with it. Make sure he doesn't move. That way, you can start shooting off a horseback. And like I said, when you drop it out at shoulder height. Your horse shouldn't care. Same with the whip. Grab it with the handle. Do it all around your horse, so your horse gets used to that twanging sound. That way when you grab your bow and you start shooting, your horse is not reacting to that. You do this at the walk, the trot, the canter as well. Pretty simple. Good boy. All right, so if you have arrows or a bundle of sticks, take your arrows, do this far away at first, then you can kind of move in your horse, but rhythmically bang them together. That way your horse is familiar with that sound. Sometimes your arrows might make noise when you're riding in the saddle. Vigorously hand them up to your invisible self. That way, when your overzealous ground crew comes running up, there you go. Your horse doesn't flip out. Work on this stuff with a partner if you have to. And sometimes it's really good to dump your stuff on the ground. That way your horse doesn't flip out when you drop something, or if you got a quiver on your saddle that you know, just comes loose all of a sudden, it dumps out on the ground. You don't want your horse flipping out or stepping on your arrows, okay? Definitely do not want that to happen. So work on this stuff prior to coming to practice. That way, when you're at practice or at a clinic, you're not having to focus on all these little things that you could have done at home with either a bundle of sticks or some arrows, that stick that you're using for a bow, your whip that you're using for that twanging sound on the bow. All these little things you can do at home. Takes 10 minutes on the ground. Do it in the saddle. Just get your horse used to this simple stuff. That way, when you're in the saddle, all you're doing is concentrating on your horse archery. You don't have to worry about the horse so much. Your horse isn't reacting to things that you could have familiarized him with. All right? So before you go to any clinic or before you come to practice, work on this stuff every day until your horse stands there just like this. If you need an assistant, use an assistant. If you got to start far away and move your way in real slow, do that, okay? Just work on it. Keep going, no rolling, pal.